Hey everyone, this is Callie with OF Studios again, and I am here today talking, as I promised, I want to talk about my favorite books of the Bible. And I have a lot more time now because I finished the main project, so I'm very excited about that project. I want to be in a situation where I can um, update a lot more, and I think that's where I'll be now, so that's either a good thing or maybe a bad thing, depending on if you want to hear from me again. So today I want to talk about my favorite books of the Bible, current favorite books of the Bible. The reason I say that is because depending on where you are in life, for those that are avid Bible readers, because there are people who have been in Christ for years um, and have read and what you are supposed to do, study to show thyself worthy. So as you walk through life and you're reading, you'll different books will have a different you'll see them from a different perspective, and just living you'll see things differently. So many different people have different books that are their favorite, or different verses that they just come to, but it varies. I find for me it varies during certain parts of my life. Now there's some books that always stay the same, so things that I read it and it grabs me, always grabs me. Is the book of Acts, where you get to see the movement of the early church and how they come together. You get to see the movement, how all of these people are a close knit group, and then the just the birth of the church, and the beginning of people speaking in tongues, and the Holy Ghost working in people, and it's just so many amazing stories. I always think the funniest thing is that when you hear people say that no one drinks at 9 a.m., it's funny to me because if you read, that's what Peter told the onlookers when people were talking in tongues. It's 9 a.m. Who drinks at this time? Who's drunk at this time of day? It's always, to me, that's just weird. It's just funny to me. Um, but it's just to see, it starts off pretty much with Peter and disciples, and then it ends up changing to being about Paul. And originally when I read it, I wasn't as big into Paul. I was a big fan of Peter, but I started to gravitate more towards him when I realized here's a man that, although he was doing wrong, he was doing wrong thinking he was doing right. And as soon as he realized, as soon as God talked to him, and told Jesus talked to him and told him what he did, he didn't make excuses. He said, what do you want me to do?" And he changed his life, and he was radical all the way to the end. He was stoned by people. Some think he might have died and then he resurrected him back up. They prayed for him, and he came back to life, or he was just knocked out. We don't know. But in any event, once he got back up, he went right back on to preaching again. He was on fire for Christ, and he just went through so many different things. Being shipwrecked, where the ship was broke apart, bitten by a snake, and shaking the snake off into the fire. Um, going in and out of different court systems and all these types of things because he was a citizen, and just keeping his being able to be this. And I always want to be somebody who can be this, even doing when everything else around me is moving up and down, which is also one of the reasons I think I love the story of Jesus and Peter walking on the water, because that's a great example. As long as he stayed on his eyes on Jesus, he was fine. The minute he took his eyes off and saw the situation around him, he just fell. Um, he looked, so that's a metaphor for life. Genesis, because it has a lot of adventure, a lot of action. It deals with the Tower of Babel, um, how we got to speak different languages, the flood, giants, Jacob, um, Jacob wrestling an angel, or some, that's it doesn't specifically say angel in King James version, but some translations will say angel, but they say man. You, but we know he was some type of man of God, or something spiritual was going on, and him holding on to him until he decided to bless him. Um, a lot of some of the best stories are in Genesis. And actually, I'm reading that right now. I'm actually on the part with Joseph and the dreams and him just getting the him just coming to being the second most powerful man in Egypt, which because of the famine, it kind of makes him the second most powerful man in the world. Um, another book that I like. Um, I love Proverbs because it just gives you instruction, telling you, um, you know, it has so many just gems in it. While there's a way to see with the right unto man, but then it leads to destruction. Um, telling you about the type of friends you have, you should search for, about seeking um, help from a friend over sometimes your brother. Um, even though me and my brother are cool, but just the fact that it's just telling you that telling you how to live your life. It's a very instructional book, and I like things where I can read and get understanding from something and put it in my everyday life. So it's one of my favorite books. Um, the the next book I'm going to talk about is Judges, and when I was younger, it was actually the first book I ever read. First full book of the Bible I read. I think I read it around like teenage years, maybe about 13 or 14 years of age. And I like that one because, again, it's a story that's so action packed. It deals with all these heroic people. It deals with Deborah, the prophetess. It deals with like these soldier stories. Although I didn't like the ending, if you've read it before, it ends with saying every man did what was right unto in their own heart. But it has a story of Samson, which I was so amazed by that because I read comic books, and when someone told me about that, I think the first time I heard anything about it was a little kid, and then so when I ended up reading the Bible, that was the first book I ended up reading because I liked the idea of Samson, who was a real life superhero. If you've really watched any of my videos, I love superheroes. So the last book of the Bible that I'm going to use, which is my favorite book of the Bible, is Ecclesiastes. And some people refer to it as the book of the teacher, and some will call it the book of the preacher. Um, and this is one of the books that, amazingly, a lot of people are not that big into, but they find it to be confusing or um, depressing. And I think even at one time they said there was some controversy on why it was actually in the Bible. I think between that and Songs of Solomon, those are probably two of the more controversial books in the Bible. Um, but I really, as I began to, it grabbed me as a teenager, and it grabs me more and more as I get older. And I like I like the way that it's written, but just to get an understanding the background of it. It's Solomon writing to people, and for those who don't know, Solomon was the wisest man next to that of Jesus. He had just endless supply of riches and wealth, and he was a king during a time of peace. He's the son of David, and with wealth and peace and free time will afford you, it's time to be able to relax and ponder and think about things. And he, having all these things, he went through different modes and stages of his life. He goes through a mode where he tries to just live and get everything he can out of it, and he ends up becoming depressed, and that's why he goes from all these different extremes because he realizes that all of it, or most of it, is meaningless because no matter what you have, no matter how much money you have, or how many houses you have, and this man had one of the biggest houses you could ever imagine. I mean, there are tycoons that in the Middle East that own oil that can't touch what he has. There, billionaires here. He had wealth beyond wealth, and he had houses. He had wives, concubines, all these different things, and he went into depression. It didn't stop him from being depressed because he realized that no matter what happens, there's a fate that happens to everyone, good and bad, rich or poor, doesn't matter. And so he kind of spiraled into this form of depression. He didn't know what to do. And at times he went against God. If you know the story of Solomon, but he fought he's fighting these different thoughts. And I've found that book has helped me, and I've actually used it because a lot of people would just read the Bible. I hear some people say, well, it's really good literature. It's not just literature. It's a way of life. Some people have heard the acronym before. Bible is basic instructions before leaving Earth. And it's to teach you how to live your life. And what I like about Ecclesiastes is that for me personally, I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot of things from it, even to the point that one of the phone's playing in the background. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Okay, it's about to stop. But I will say that one of the few of the things that I got from, I actually used for any, a lot to do with any success that I've had. And I'm talking about just, even if you're talking worldly success, but he deals with worldly as well as spiritual. Because I find that a lot of people, you have this split and divide in Christianity. You have the people that are just looking for just worldly stuff and God bless me, name it and claim it. And then you have the people who just feel like you're just supposed to suffer and you can't enjoy life at all. And that's not how things should be. Also, that's not how things should be either. There's a balance to things. And I felt like his book, and then when you listen to Jesus talk, they mirror each other. But his is an incomplete work because it's before Jesus comes. So all he understands is death. He doesn't understand what happens afterwards because the Messiah hadn't come yet. But what I loved about it, like I said, I love some of my favorite verses in that book deals with him saying about, which is exactly the opposite of what a lot of Christians will tell you, is you don't put everything into one thing. Now, he's not talking about God, but as far as if you have plans, because he talks about you don't know if one thing will be successful or the both will be successful. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And I learned that from that book, and when I got it, it gravitated towards me, because I felt that a lot of times we Christians will think, well, we have faith, and just because we have faith, something, and we want something, it's going to happen that way, and it may not. We may not be successful in that. We may go somewhere else on it. We might end up going another way. You don't know. So a lot of times, people will go, well, I feel it in my heart that it's a certain way. And if you do feel that God's guiding you that way, go that way. But until you get confirmation, it's good to have some other things. Don't leap, unless God is telling you to leap. And I think that gets a lot of people in trouble, because the stuff I do when I do filming, I've had people tell me that certain things are going to happen, and I think that they are, but I don't know. So because I don't know, I still, I still, with the school and different things, because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So anyway, that was one of the things. And pretty much everything I do, I always try to do a backup plan. Unless I feel like God is saying, hey, this is this way. It's going to be this way. And I know for sure. Um, and then in the end of the book, he tells you to, in the end, he finds out he does all these things. He says, in the end of the matter, I find to follow God, to fear God, follow him. So that's my favorite book of the Bible. Those are my books. That's all for now.